This puzzle was not easy to build. This prototype here, it says little number 1 because it's the first working prototype, is actually the 3rd or 4th prototype. I started this puzzle design wanting to make a sliding puzzle which worked. My sliding 1x2x3 is a great puzzle. It works, it slides, it does everything it's supposed to, but it's really rattly, and honestly, I could do better. It was one of the first puzzles that I designed. That doesn't mean that it's terrible, it just means that I have a lot more experience now, and I can make the mechanisms and the tolerances a lot better than I could back then. My sliding 2x2x3 was, in my opinion, a failure because the part which held it together, it broke. So in that way it was a failure because the puzzle literally broke. But in another way, the parts of the puzzle could come apart when you were sliding it. So I have those 2 examples, and I have other sliding puzzles, but this time I wanted to do a sliding puzzle the right way. I started my design with the first prototype. You can see it here. I sort of put all the parts that go around the stickers onto here because I cut my own stickers. And this prototype was okay. It had the right ideas, but the tolerances on these sliding parts was so tight that I could barely fit in these pieces here. Some of them, like this part over here, I literally had to hammer in with a mallet. And the only reason I did that was because I sort of wanted to get an idea for what the puzzle would end up looking like. For the most part, it's a good puzzle, but it had those issues in it. It showed me a couple of other issues, like the caps here fell off, stuff like that. And so I took this design and I moved on to the next prototype, and that would be this prototype. Now I don't have the entire thing for this prototype, but I have enough parts that, or I printed enough parts that I'd be able to see how it worked. Oh man, that's one of the problems. Let me see if I can get this back in here. There you go. Ooh, let's see. There you go. Never mind. You know what, I'm not gonna try to fix this. Anyhow, I made this prototype. I printed a couple of the parts, but I realized that I was sort of splitting these pieces here. I don't know if you can see it. Right there, you can see there's a split in the piece. And I did that to make printing the pieces easier, and well, not only easier, but more successful. I'll get onto that later. So I split the pieces, and I put holes to align the pieces when you put it back together. But I still couldn't get the pieces to fit together perfectly, and it resulted with even more catching in these sort of ring layers. So I finished that prototype, or I finished as much of that prototype as I could, and then I finally printed this prototype. Now, I'll be honest, this prototype isn't perfect either. It has a couple of problems, and I'll go on to them later. But before I do that, I want to talk about the printing process. Now, I have an amazing machine. I have a Prusa i3 Mark IIs. You can probably hear it printing in the background. If it was a Mark III, you wouldn't be able to hear it printing in the background. But still, it's an amazing machine. I love it. It's really high quality. It was worth the investment of a little bit of extra money to not buy something which was made in China. But recently I've been having a lot of print failures. Now I don't know if that's because of the software which I'm using, or if it's because I'm not preparing the bed correctly or whatever, but I had a lot of failed prints. Here you can see a print of one of the edge pieces which I did, where I had, let me see if I can count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different layer shifts. Now how I usually print my stuff is I'll set it to print and then I'll come back overnight, or I'll come back after school to see how well it did. And with this instance, I just came back to a giant pile of spaghetti. If you have a printer, you'll know what I'm talking about. Here's another example of a print which failed, and I don't even know what the problem was here. If you look on the side, it's really, really wobbly on the edges there. I don't know what would have caused that. And then on the bottom, it wasn't sticking to the bed. But I managed to stop this print after a couple of hours, so I didn't waste too much filament on it. I think altogether I spent almost an entire spool of filament on this individual puzzle. I know there are a couple of other things which I printed, but for the most part, it was $20 worth of plastic just in this one single prototype. And I'm not saying that it wasn't worth it, because I'm really happy with the end result. It turns really well, it looks really nice, and altogether it's just a great puzzle, and I'm really proud of it. So enough with how I built this puzzle. I want to get to the interesting part of this video where I do the demonstration of the puzzle. But first I want to do a little bit of a disclaimer. So like I said, there are some problems with this prototype of the puzzle. Now I will say, this is not the final prototype. I have another one which is designed, but I haven't been able to test it yet. So the first thing that you'll probably notice is that there's no sticker over here. You can see on this edge that there's a sticker, on this corner. On this corner there's a sticker, but over here there's no sticker. And if you look at the piece, it's pretty easy to see why. Because of the fillet that I put on here, there's basically no space to put a sticker on this edge. So in the end I just moved this line back a little bit, and I left it without a sticker. I sort of like how it looks. It adds a little bit of a larger, like a larger circle around the inner center, but it makes it a little bit easier to solve, or a little bit harder to solve, or it just makes less unique pieces. And for sliding puzzles, I'm all about having each piece being unique, because I just feel like that's sort of the perfect sliding puzzle. Now another problem that this version of the puzzle had is that if you slide all these pieces down, like if you're doing that move, if you slide it down like this, and you wiggle it enough, ooh, there you go, you can take out one of these edge pieces, or corner pieces, or however you want to call it. And this is a pretty easy problem to fix. I just made the depth of this a little bit wider, and I also stabilized these centers so they can't wiggle around as much. But the main problem which I had with this puzzle was alignment. So on this puzzle, you can make these moves pretty easily if you hold these two pieces together, and you can make the other moves, but the problem comes when you try to make one of the sliding moves. So if per se you just want to slide this one down and then keep all these the same, you can make the move. It's not too hard, but it's a lot easier when these pieces don't just fall around like that. Now you'll notice on this prototype, if I slide a piece up, it stays there, especially the center pieces. If I go like that, it'll stay like that, or like that. But the tolerances that I put on this make it so when you slide a piece up like that, it'll just slide back down. So once again, that's a pretty easy fix. I just reverted back to the previous tolerances, and that fixed that up. Now there's one more problem, but I don't really consider it a problem. I consider it more of like an assembly trick, and that is when you turn one of these faces by 90 degrees, you can still slide these faces. And because of that, if you slide this face out with this face turned 90 degrees, you don't have this rim here to stop the pieces from coming out anymore, and you can slide them out. You would never need to make that type of turn when you're solving the puzzle, and it's not that easy to do it accidentally, so I'm not that worried about the problem. That's one that I haven't quite found a mechanical fix to, but my temporary fix is just to make these centers a little bit less loose, and so it's really unlikely for you to accidentally slide one of those pieces out. And it's sort of nice to have a way to disassemble the puzzle without taking everything apart, because it is a puzzle which is super glued together. There's no springs or screws in here. So, how does this puzzle turn? Well, you may have guessed already that it can turn around these axes. I think it's axes. Yeah, it's axes, but you spell it like axes. It can turn around these axes here. Like you can on a regular 3x3, you can do that by 90-degree increments. And then on this axis, you can turn it 180 degrees. You can't turn it 90 degrees and then turn again. And then the special part is that you can slide the puzzle like this, and then you can still make turns. Now, I'd really like to show you all the sliding moves it can do, because that's where this puzzle really shines for me. You know what? I'm just gonna make a video sequence of me doing different sliding moves, so I'll turn the music up a little bit and you can enjoy that. have one more big announcement for this puzzle, and that is this puzzle is going to be for sale. If you guys don't know him already, Jason from Chewy's Custom Stickers is a really good friend of mine, and he's produced some of my puzzles before, like my mirror square one and my sliding 1x2x3. And also, if you may not know this yet, but my sliding stand puzzle from the last video, I think, or the video before that, he's also selling that now, so if you want that, you can go look that up. But he agreed to sell this puzzle. You may be thinking, but there's problems with your puzzle, why would you sell it? And don't worry about that. He's actually prototyped the updated version of this, which fixes all the problems, and that's the version which he's going to be selling. I know this puzzle isn't going to be within everybody's price range, but it's important to remember that SLS puzzles, which are the other type of custom puzzle that you can get, are usually at least twice as expensive as the puzzles which Chewy sells on his store. And you're also getting a fully assembled and stickered and lubed puzzle, whereas with the Shapeways service, you'd be getting a kit, which you'd have to dye, sticker. If you guys want to support my channel and support Chewy, who's a great guy, and if you like this puzzle, then be sure to look at the link in the description. You can find all the different puzzles that I'm selling there. I'll also put a link directly to this product if you want to get this. This is a puzzle that I'm really proud of. I know that I say that a lot about the puzzles which I make, that this is the puzzle which I'm most proud of or most excited about, and it's usually my latest design, but this puzzle really stands out in my mind as one which is unique and special, and one which I spent a lot of time working on. Anyhow guys, thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate the attention that you guys give to my little personal projects. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in next week's video. Or the next video. I'm not gonna make any promises this time.